Hello, everyone. This is David. As usual, today I want to present to you a kind of an opinion rant on why politics is a waste of time and why you should not watch news. Um, Ever since the Second World War and the proliferation of democratic societies, every citizen and the base presupposition of the democratic society, supposedly that we live in, is that each citizen, as a participant of politics, as a participant of governance, has to be informed about the way the country is run, and since they're allowed to make decisions on this front, they should make informed decisions on these things. The basic question then that you can ask is, how can people attain information? Well, it is through news media. It's news media that shines a light on political global events, especially today, but you could also say 40 years ago, 50 years ago, right? But one overlooked aspect of media is, first of all, what how should we even trust the supposed free media, right? And theoretically speaking, what makes us trust that the news feed media, the information given to us by news media, is in some form infallible, or at the very least consistently reliable? The fact of the matter is, there is no real kind of proof for that. There is really no evidence on why we should trust the news media, other than just have faith, right? We're supposed to have faith in a group of people that is the center of information for us. Think of it this way: the media is so powerful that it can give us information about certain things and events. So whoever has control over media has control over information that their citizens have. I mean, isn't this such a basic thing to consider? How do we know that this is not the case? There is really no evidence that this is not the case. In fact, there's many evidences that media is being manipulated by certain different interest groups. In fact, it is so evidential. I mean, the evidence is so much that even American politicians who are supposed to act in a certain way, act in some form of professionalism where they act such things don't happen, completely admit now, both sides completely admit that the media is being manipulated regularly. The media does act as if they're not being manipulated, but everyone else admits that it's being manipulated. And even if no one talked about this, it is still a serious thing. And another problem with this kind of presupposition, fundamentally speaking, is that it's kind of assertion that there is such thing as brute fact, brute information, that each citizen, once they acquire just enough good information, they all can make good judgments. That's the kind of implication behind it. And the fact is, there is no such thing as brute information, because all information you can gain can only be gained in a contextualized forms in a contextualized form within your worldview. And so the way you look at the world really determines how you're going to understand whatever information comes to you. Um, an example that I want to give for this to kind of illustrate what I mean. Let's say we are informed about, let's say X country has built more farms, they are more productive in animal farming, etc. Someone who cares about the economy, for example, will look at that and say, "Oh, that's very cool. We're becoming more productive. We're becoming more efficient." But someone who cares about animal rights or about the environment will look at that. Will look at that information and say, "This is horrible and this should be stopped." Um, my then what I think is very clear is that, well, which one of the two is correct? Are they both correct, or is it really good for us? Is this things really good for us? Or is it bad for us ultimately? If so, why? All of these things are about worldviews. But how do people form worldviews in the modern world in the first place? The fact of the matter is, none. School is supposed to be a place where we learn how to critically think, but anyone who goes to school will easily tell you, anyone who has any honest admittance of the way schools are operated today all across the world will tell you that this is not what's happening in school. Instead, what is happening in school is that you are trained to wage slave. That's basically what school is about. You're being trained to wage slave. You're trained to attain certain information. Some of these things are important, like mathematics, sure. Some aspects of mathematics, at least, and some of them you'll forget about them after you finish an exam, and some of them no one cares about. And to get back to the earlier example, another example will be how news media would try to view certain information that they have attained. Let's say news media looks at an event such as a criminal being caught, right? A serial killer who murdered whatever amount of people got caught. So we kind of have to ask, is the news media, what do they think about this? Do they think that this is good, that this person finally got caught? Or are they going to say the fact that this person existed asks XYZ questions? And in many different cases we have seen, again, from news media, is that if they really want to, they will try to push a certain narrative if they feel like. And narrative is really the key weapon here. What we are being sold in media and politics is just narrative. It's not information. We're not given information. Media stories are 10-20% information, 80% narrative. It is mostly about what you should think in reaction to whatever happened. And them trying to tell, oh, this is bad, this is horrible. And another thing is that you can easily change perception of people. For example, again, if a certain event in a country that's kind of small, that barely happens, if this event gets, especially in relation to other countries, right? It's a very minor event, it barely even happens. But if the media constantly reports on these events, it can be made to look as if this constantly happens. And the kind of point that I'm trying to make here especially is that a lot of people I've noticed who listen to political podcasts or watch some people talk about politics in television, or they watch news channels, or they listen to a president speaking, I've noticed that every single time people just get really angry. It just breeds anger. It breeds envy. It breeds anger. It breeds very uncomfortable emotions. And I don't have a problem with those emotions personally if something comes out of that. But I've noticed that nothing comes out of this. As a matter of fact, absolutely nothing comes out of it. It just causes you to be angry. It causes you to hate your country, hate people, whatever. And nothing in your life has improved, right? You can say, oh, is it an improvement that I just become a more knowledgeable person? Knowledgeable in what? Right? That's the thing. Knowledgeable in what? A speech a president gave about something that doesn't matter, you're going to forget 2 weeks later? Oh, that's valuable? Do you think that's valuable? Let me tell you what's valuable. Going to the gym and working your body out. Reading a book and learning new things about the world, right? Learning about a new craft. Learning about something that, or doing something that you wanted to do. That doesn't take much money. Walking outside and taking a breath of fresh air. Talking with your friends. These are all things that are valuable that you can do. Listening to news about information and then forgetting about it about a week later, but still remembering the emotion behind it is the key part. Remembering the emotion behind it, that does nothing for you. It's negative for you. Now, when I say politics is a waste of time, am I saying that, political theory and all of these kinds of stuff, it's just, we should all just become apolitical and we should not participate in politics? I'm not saying that, right? So, for example, I do appreciate certain people whose main thing is politics. Doesn't interest me, but I find value in it. It just doesn't interest me personally. I'm not saying to those people, stop what you're doing, right? What I am saying is, and this might sound a bit strange, but what I'm saying is that first, critically examine your own worldview first. Critically examine the way you think about the world. Critically examine your own systems of beliefs, your belief systems, and just start with that. Just start with that, because what I realized is a lot of debates that go on what certain things that happen. I remember one of the funny things that happened is I was in a philosophy Discord server, and I remember getting into a. This was 2 years ago or three. This was way before I had a YouTube channel. 3 years ago, I think. I went to a philosophy Discord server, and some people I believe were talking about morality, about how morality doesn't exist. So I just kind of asked, I was just wondering, do you guys believe that morality doesn't exist, or is it just a creation of the human mind? So does it just not matter at all? And they've all pretty much said, everyone in the server is like, yeah, morality is just what we made up, right? It's like stuff we made up. Nothing is really inherently good. There's no such thing as good action or bad action, that kind of stuff. I didn't really debate. I was just interested in what they taught. I'm not someone who really debates, especially I don't debate with stupid people. And I thought at that time, these are all very stupid people. If I debate them, I'm just gonna confuse myself, get angry, and that's not gonna be good for me. So I'll just instead listen to them, try to be respectful, and I'll just go away and say to myself, okay, this is what people believe, right? Um, but when that discussion ended, this was kind of funny. I checked the server back 5 minutes later. All the people that were saying morality doesn't exist, ethics do not exist, were talking about how evil racism is. And I just thought to myself, I thought these people were stupid, but these people are even worse than that. So ethics don't exist. There's no such thing as a good action or a bad action. Murdering someone and listening to music is the same thing, really. It's about how we see it, right? It's all about human opinion. But suddenly, oh, racists are so stupid. Oh, racism is so ethically bad. I thought ethics didn't exist. I thought there was no such thing as right and wrong. But here you are talking about right and wrong, right? And that's what I'm talking about. That's what I want people to examine. So many people, and I think it's because they're immature. Many people are so immature. They don't critically examine what they believe. And so they just assume that the other side just has to believe what they believe, right? So if someone talks about uh, illegal immigration, it's like, whoa, well, what do you say? Like, should we just deport these people and send them back to their country and leave them to die there? Yeah. Like if someone just says yeah, right? No one even wonders, if that is even an acceptable thing to say. What if he says that? Well, that tells you about his worldview, right? How he sees the government, how he sees people groups. And instead of debating about that, they just start shaming you and whatever, because they don't really understand it. The fact of the matter is, a lot of people, they complain about shaming and all that kind of stuff. I don't think shaming is bad. I just want people to understand why they're shaming things, okay? I want people to understand and critically examine other people's beliefs so that they can really understand if it's really stupid or not, right? Just because you kind of do that doesn't mean that you respect what they believe. And the relation to this with politics and media, as I'm saying, is basically this. No one examines their beliefs. Everyone looks at news media and politics as stuff like, oh, this is just I just like this, right? Oh, I just personally like this. So it's like, yeah, I agree with what this politician is saying, but no one is talking about really what's significant, and that is about values, the presupposition. So another example I want to give, for example, is talking about, for example, a certain government policy like taxation, let's say. I'm a Christian. If I'm going to be debating about taxation policy with an atheist, libertarian, ANCAP, I'm not going to debate whether taxation is good or not. I'm going to debate whether in his belief system there can even be such thing as good or bad. If there is no such thing, then this debate is over. He just instantly loses the debate, because then he just says there's no such thing as good or bad. So whatever opinion he takes on this issue doesn't matter. Since it doesn't matter, he admits that this debate is pointless. And he admits that his argument is pointless. So my point will instantly win in that case. And so my focus on that debate will then be to ask him, what do you think good is? Does it exist? If it exists, where? In what sense? Final point I want to make in this rant, if we can call it that, is about worldviews and metaphysics. And the foundation of worldviews, this is what's really key. A lot of people think that the foundation of worldviews if you can hear my dog barking, I'm sorry, but he likes to do that at night. I can't stop him. But um, the fundamental aspect of worldviews is not politics. Your starting position cannot be politics. It's not economics. It's not culture, right? Things don't sprout from the culture. Things don't sprout from the economics, or they don't sprout from from other things. The fountainhead that culture, politics, governance, all of these things, art, right, come from is fundamentally theology. It's all fundamentally theological. This is why my channel's focus is theological. It is not political. Because I think when I'm, or cultural, or based on art or whatever, because I think when I'm making theological statements, or I'm pointing towards certain theological principles, I think, and I think this is the case, in reality, what I'm doing is I'm kind of setting the foundation for politics, arts, culture, government policies, how we should view the military, how we should view people. This is where all of these things come from. Because theology is fundamentally about the things unseen. It is about trying to see things that are not seen. And so it is metaphysical. So I consider metaphysics as a different form of theology if it's not just a synonym of theology. Because if you look at the Greek etymology of metaphysics, it is about things after nature, or things behind nature. So the behind the scenes of what is material, of what is physical, you see. It is about the meta of that physics. What is the meta? What is the thing behind the physical things, the things that we can see? Well, the things behind the things we can see are the things that are unseen, right? If it were the things that we could see, and they were naturally seen, then they will not be metaphysical, you see. So metaphysics is fundamentally theological in everything. The way you look at ethics, the way you look at whether you should eat animals or not, or whether we should tax citizens, or whether we should interfere with another country's interior politics, or whether we should support a certain country or not. All of these things are all about worldviews, all about metaphysics. That's where it starts from. But whenever you debate these midwits, these absolute normie midwits, about, so for example, in the example of debating tax policy, I can guarantee you the moment I start getting into the heart of the issue, he's just going to say, well, this is not, we're debating tax policy and you're trying to prove God to me. Well, because the debate is about whether certain good and bad even exists. I don't think that you can have the idea of a good or the bad in your worldview consistently. And I want you to show that to me first before we can even get to that debate. It's the same. You will see the greatest example of this midwittery is looking at the Jay Dyer and Tristan Haggard debate versus Ask Yourself and Vegan Gains, or whatever those guys' names are. The vegans were completely midwitted because they thought getting into the debate, we're going to be debating about like how life has value and all that kind of stuff, and they're just going to admit that life has value because they are Christians and all that kind of stuff. And instead, what did they do? Well, they said, first explain to me how in your worldview there can be such thing as logic, there can be such thing as good or bad, ethical decisions, and so on. And for 1.5 hours, these midwitted vegans couldn't even understand this basic, simple principle, right? A lot of people don't realize this. Again, they just assume, for example, if you're debating about something which the presupposition behind it is that all life has inherent value because it exists, the atheist will just say, well, I think life has value, and you as a Christian think life has value, so we agree. No, we don't agree. We do not agree, because we can explain how life has value, how existence has value, in what senses, and what nature's existence has value in relation to other existence of other natures or beings or species or whatever. But you cannot explain that. That is why we don't agree. We don't agree on this topic, even though, sure, you can agree with, I guess we agree with the last step, we agree with the conclusion, but your premises are all completely wrong. and I want to debate you on the premises. Again, this is why I think politics, media, all of this is a complete waste of time, because most people don't even know how they should look at news and how they should look at information. They just look at it and just, I don't know, say whether they like it or not. And there's really nothing new that they learn. There's nothing that really comes from it. And anyone who even does like some basic baby step in trying to do something like that, they end up becoming a millionaire. Unless, but you know, if you're like me, or if like some other people who get much deeper into that, because the fact is, I think 200 years ago, 300 years ago, even 1,000 years ago, more than 1,000 years ago, honestly, I think most people knew these things. This is basic fact. These are basic things that a lot of people used to assume back then, that we are trained not to assume anymore, partially because of the system that we're growing in. The system is that you have a kid, you prepare to send them to prison that they call school, and they spend 8 hours or whatever in school learning all kinds of things, but they are not learning how to think. And you are told that you don't have to do any of that, because all you have to do, right? All the parents have to do now is just feed your little kid, feed your kid, give him a house, give him some water, hug him sometimes, and like, okay, you did what? No, those are not even. Those are like stuff you'd expect from anyone. Even idiots will do that. There's a lot more things that a parent is supposed to do. Education is another part of parents' responsibility. All of these things that parents were responsible for, they're not responsible for anymore. Who are responsible for that? Teachers. A bunch of, and what is a teacher? A failed university student that wanted to be something, but they couldn't because they were too ambitious and they failed, and now they're stuck teaching little kids how to 2 + 2 = 4. That's what a teacher is, okay? If you're a teacher, I'm sorry. I'm not, some teachers, they genuinely want to be teachers. They want to educate people. They want to be good. I'm not denying that. Fact of the matter is, most teachers are like that, okay? Most people did not want to be teachers. And most people don't understand what teaching means. People think that teaching means that you get in a classroom and you just say a couple of things and then you just leave. And you give homework too. You make exams too. Some people think that's what teaching is. That's not teaching, okay? A robot can do that. Google can do that. I can do that through Google. I can do that through watching videos. A teacher, an educator, teaches you how to think. He teaches you how to think. He teaches you how to use your mind. He doesn't give you information. He tries to teach you how to understand information. This is the critical part of critical thinking that is completely missing today in Western societies. And this is why Western society has completely and utterly failed, intellectually speaking. You can have all the IQ points you want. What is IQ? A big part of IQ is memorization. IQ is not about, and I personally believe, and I know some people don't believe in IQ. I believe in IQ. I just think that IQ doesn't deal with issues such as how to synthesize information, for example. IQ doesn't deal with that. I take an IQ test. I know what it is about. It's not about synthesizing information. It is not about understanding how to think. It is about, there's different ways of processing information or retaining information. Try these tests and we'll see how well you do. That's what IQ tests are. It's valuable, but it doesn't really reflect whether you actually are a critical thinker or not. Because some of the smartest, some of the people that have the highest IQ are some of the dumbest people that you will ever see. I believe Gary Kasparov, for example, typical cancerous neocon. I can guarantee you that this guy, he has no worldview. He doesn't understand what a worldview is, but he's good at chess. Okay, he's good at chess, so he knows a lot. That's not how things work, though. So I just want to kind of conclude this rant because if I could keep on going and going and going, it's 25 minutes already. I don't think you want to listen 25 minutes more of my rant. Maybe you do. I don't know. Maybe people are interested in those kinds of things sometimes. I mean, I am kind of, so I don't blame any of you if you're interested in that. Um, if it has kind of made you ask questions about yourself or maybe convinced you, I want to convince you to stop uh, caring about politics and stop listening to news media. I want you to stop doing that. I want you to focus on things that really matter. And they don't have to be serious things either. You don't have to be so serious in life. Okay? If you're going to be serious, then, if you really have to be serious about things, you don't have to be serious through politics. Oh, some war happened in like India, between like India and Pakistan. I don't care. Let them kill each other. I don't care. Why would you care about that? I think it's very abnormal that people will care. Like an Austrian will care about what's happening in Pakistan and India. Why will he care? It doesn't matter to him. You know what he should care about? Well, fundamentally, he should be caring about God, but he should be caring about his livelihood. He should be caring about his friends, his family, right? He should be caring about the safety of his neighborhood. He should be caring about his neighbors, right? Those kinds of things. He should be caring about whether he has proper freedom or whether that's under risk. You know, that's something to think. That's something you should care. Should he care about what a bunch of two random countries far, far away from you are doing with each other? No. That doesn't matter. It's not going to change his life. It's just going to make him mad. It's going to make him, oh, makes me so sad people are fighting against each other. Aren't we all human beings? Why the bloodshed? Why the blah, blah, blah? Even 10-year-olds aren't stupid like this. Even I, as a 10-year-old, understood, yeah, I guess like there's some reality about war. That's not cool, but it's like has to happen. Okay? Even 10-year-olds understand reality, truth. But some 20, 30-year-old Redditor bugman can't even understand. Some stupid midwits, they can't get it. What a joke. It is all of this is proof that people have completely forgotten how to use their brains. They think the brain is this is why a lot of people are getting into technocracy. Now I'm ranting again. This is why people are getting into technocracy because what is it about technocracy? They think the brain, human consciousness, can be replicated through mechanical robotic means, right? Through a machine or a computer or internet or whatever. How can you even come to this idea? Well, if you think that all the brain is just something that memorizes things and whatever, then yeah, sure. If that's all about the mind, sure. But I think all of these people, all of these technocrats, I think they're all admitting that they're all stupid people whose brains only work to memorize things, but never to actually use it, never to synthesize information, never to actually make use of that information in a way normal human beings did. Machines can never do that. Okay? Machines can never use information the way human beings can. But this might be very bold. You know, David, you're speaking very boldly. Are you saying that there's never going to be something that's mechanically made that will make use of their mind, their mechanical mind, the way human beings? I 100% believe that. I 100% believe that is going to be impossible. Because the mind is much more than mere consciousness or memorizing things or looking at what information is, but it is about value. Okay, it is fundamentally about value. It is fundamentally about fundamental beliefs. These fundamental beliefs can at most be programmed in a robot. Okay, and so, you know, maybe you can program a robot to be like a Redditor. It's like, oh, you know, you can't say that. That's ableist, right? Like some stupid robot. Like, okay, you can configure a robot to be like that, sure, but that robot, you know, you're never going to be able to, for example, convince him that he's wrong, unless you're gonna change the way his brain operates as a mechanic. But that doesn't, you know, that's not how human brains work either. You're never going to be able to convince him to change his worldview. You're never going to be able to convince him to change his basic presuppositions. That robot is always going to come up with something to cope with, right? Like how human beings cope with certain things that they don't want to realize in reality. Again, I don't want to spend too much time talking. It's been 30 minutes now. I hope at least I kind of made my point across. Hope you enjoyed this. If you liked this, if you enjoyed this and you want other people to enjoy it, then make sure to like and share this to people. If you haven't subscribed, do that already. And in the next video, we're going to be, again, continuing the way we always are. But again, if you like this kind of, you like these kinds of rants, I have a lot more in store. So we'll see. Thank you for watching. I will see all of you in the next video. May God be with you all. Again, thanks for watching. See you.